Good afternoon, or for some of you, good morning, and welcome to our Zendesk masterclass. So less admin, more customer experience. My name is Chantal Harps, and I will be your moderator today. Before we dive into it, a few quick housekeeping items. We are recording this session, and you will receive a link afterwards. We have 4 polls throughout the session to keep it engaging and relevant for you. Feel free to drop questions in the Q&A section at the bottom right of your screen at any time. We will address some of these questions at the end of the session. Today we are joined by Hans Andersen, our Zendesk expert here at Bimon, and together we'll show you how to build a solid foundation and successfully implement AI in your customer support process. So let's get started. So Hans, you work with organizations on a daily basis who are trying to improve the customer support experience by incorporating AI to drive efficiencies. Can you walk us a little bit through what you are seeing?
Yes, absolutely. What we're seeing around different companies is that customer service agents tend to be jumping around, not knowing exactly what to focus upon, and in general, just sometimes feeling confused and feeling a lack of structure. We see teams are being stretched in high traffic periods, and we see a high demand of human interaction on critical issues. From one of the clients that I visited shortly, was doing an agent shattering session with them, and I was looking around for how they were working. It was very clear that they were trying to keep up on other channels than inside of the customer service platform Zendesk to keep track of who was taking care of what, who had focus on what, who took the phone when, and which ticket, which email was taken responsible by who.
It's great to have you as part of this masterclass so that you can share some insights on how organizations are overcoming those challenges. What is it that we'll be covering today? Hans, can you walk us through that?
Yes, absolutely. Today we will be covering what foundations we need to have in place to be ready for adapting AI into our customer service. We'll be looking into how to transform the organization and processes to be AI capable. And then we will be sharing with you some success stories that we have had over the coming months. And then we will share with you a roadmap of how to become ready, and also, of course, some resources, a checklist upon what you need to take care of and what you need to prepare for when you want to adapt with AI.
Okay, great. So a roadmap to success and a checklist on how to get started. Before we dive into it all, let's perhaps start with a poll. So you guys should see a poll on your screen. Which best describes your current Zendesk setup? So I'll just pause here for a second. So seeing some of the results coming in. So it looks like most of you are not yet using Zendesk actively and exploring options. So this masterclass will absolutely be valuable for you. We'll take you through some basic insights around Zendesk. And then once you've got that foundation really is how do you then incorporate things like AI to further drive efficiency and really get onto that transformation journey and creating an absolute amazing customer experience through your customer support process. So Hans, let's perhaps talk about the foundation.
So for the foundation, what we require here is to have some clear workflows. We require to have clear processes around the data that we are working with. We require for the AI to be knowledgeable about our company and our organization, to have a good knowledge base to dig data from, to be learning from, really. The AI is also very dependent on to have the right triggers in place and the right automation so that it knows when to kick in and when not to. And we need to have a proper team structure around our organization. So consistent tagging, macro building, which we'll come into, and also quality of our standards will be key to make sure that we have the right KPIs and measurable data going forward.
So When people are on this transformation journey, the crux is that AI is only as good as the process that you teach it.
We need to have the foundation and the data in place for the AI to be capable of helping our team.
So let's jump then right into our next poll. What is your biggest customer service challenge right now? Looking at some of the responses coming in, it's clear that there's long response time and SLA misses. So really tagging those KPIs and meeting the resolution times, repetitive questions, so that's eating up the agent's time, and then difficult to scale without the headcount. So the demand is definitely there where customers are expecting an amazing experience. So Hans, you get these questions quite often, but let's perhaps see who is involved in this customer support process. And when we think about the different stakeholders, what are the key things we should consider when we select Zendesk as a platform and think around AI? How do we navigate this with the different stakeholders as well?
Yes, managing the stakeholders in communication with clients and the environment around our organization. We need to first establish the concept of stakeholder management. Stakeholder management is, as you can see in the presentation, first of all, we have our team, the support team, what we would define as the stakeholder one. The client reaching out to us would be a stakeholder two, or the second stakeholder. The primary communication we have with clients go beyond ourselves, the team, and the client, but it would also from time to time involve communicating with external people or people inside the business to gather information to respond to clients' requests. So coming back to the client, we will have to reach out to a third party and the third stakeholder in this case. We would like to say that we can automate all communication, all follow-up, and so on with our stakeholder two and stakeholder one, establishing what we call the focus area. The focus area is where we as the team is focusing on our daily job, and we define this to be what would be tickets, would be tasks that the support agents can actually do something about. And that should be what they are taking care of and what they are focusing upon. To do that, we require these different components. So these components show some of the things that we need to have in place and have proper control of to actually have a proper stakeholder management of our organization and our support team. First, let's dive into what our stakeholder management of a stakeholder two is and how to establish the focus area. To do that, I would like to show you a live demo of our environment. We would take you into our Zendesk here. What you can see here is a view. Some of you will know Zendesk around and what views are. If you don't, I'm happy to give you a deep tour into that. Please feel free to reach out afterwards. But to look here, we have a view showing us all the open tickets that we have around the organization. But what we really want to do is to have an area where we can basically focus on the tickets that I, as an agent, customer service agent, can actually focus upon. These are the only tickets relevant to me. And as you see, the difference is this ticket here is taken by colleague. So this is outside of my responsibility area. We are using also the ticket statuses, the open tickets, the pending tickets, and the on hold tickets to make sure and to control the second stakeholder. We are waiting for the client, and the third stakeholder, we are waiting for a third party, either a carrier or a vendor or someone inside of IT, HR, or whatever that could be, to come back to us so we can reply to, let's say, an invoice or a package delivery or something like that. In that case, we have all our tickets on hold, waiting for the carrier to come back to us. And when a ticket is in the state of being with a third or a second party, that is not something we could do about. That is waiting for the client or for the third party to come back to us. We will then have Zendesk to take care of following up upon the second stakeholder or the third stakeholder to make sure that they come back to us. We can then have Zendesk ping us or notify us if the stakeholder is not coming back to us, Or with the clients, we can, by a good mean, we can inform them that we consider the ticket to be solved if they, on a continuous request and follow up, will not come back to us. And therefore, our support agents would not have to actually think about that the client would come back to us. That would automatically be something that the system handles and come back to us. And only when the client actually come back to us, we can have the view in, we will be presented with the ticket again in the open state so that we can get back to the client with whatever they are requesting from us. All right. Now we have covered the ticket statuses and we have covered the views set up here to make sure that we have a proper overview. But what is also important is the SLAs. These are response time policies that we use to make sure we are prioritizing our tickets in the proper way so that the ticket most relevant, the ticket most prone to breaching our response time policies, the SLAs, that one is at the top here. And as you can see, I have a quite extreme example here of a ticket being more than 200 days over time. It would usually not be the case, but nevertheless, it shows that this ticket is the most important to handle right away, and that is placed in the top of our view. Whereas the second one here is lesser important because we still have 5 hours to answer that within our company policies. That way, we can also establish that different clients have different priorities, different stakeholders with the clients and so on have different priorities. And our agents will not have to think much about that because they are just picking from the focus area, from the top list, that the ticket that is the most relevant, the most important here. We can also make sure that if a ticket becomes too close to breaching, let's say 2 hours from breach, that would then escalate, and even tickets belonging to one of my colleagues would then be shown to me, or from Michael here, be pulled away from him because he's not responding to the ticket, and therefore would be put back into the open area so everybody can pick it up again. This is what it would usually look like when you're working with the focus area. As mentioned before, we can make sure that the system automatically follows up upon the second and third party stakeholders. We don't really have to focus upon them. We can just rely on the system to come back to us. The business will have defined pre-configured logic into the system so that we as an agent can basically just adapt into whatever flow is defined and follow along with that flow. To follow up with the third-party stakeholders, we involve a tool called side conversations. And this is very important to be knowledgeable about, as this can be a tool. And I will just go in again to our demo environment, showing up a ticket. I will just take the first one here. And then I can show you, we have a side conversation tool, allowing us to not go over to our Outlook email inbox to create an email to our third-party vendors and to reach out to them. And we can also make sure that the ticket here, whenever we're writing an email out, will also handle the ticket back to us once the third party it becomes reacting to us. So from that set, we don't really have to leave our Zendesk to manage third-party engagement. We can also activate something like Teams or Slack or similar, so we can communicate with colleagues directly in the business channels that we would like. Also making sure within the email that we do here that we are not forwarding a full conversation, but only the parts that actually require to be forwarded on to the third-party vendor, allowing us to not be prone to GDPR compliance issues because we're not forwarding irrelevant information to our third-party vendors.
It's important that the system keeps us compliant as well.
Yes, absolutely. That is also part of making sure that our structures and processes are in place so we have our compliance in the right place. As a piece, I would like to show you the macros. And a lot of you guys already know it. As you can see, we have the macros down here. And why this is important is because we can control the macros again with the AI that we'll be showing later on. And macros is important because we can pre-program all our metadata and the comment that we would like to place with our client. And if we go ahead and apply this macro, you can see that we are automatically configuring multiple fields and already pre-programming the text field also changing the status of the ticket once we are submitting our changes.
So Hans, sorry, there's a question that comes in. I know we're going to park this till the end, but I think this question is quite relevant to the point where you are now. When we send this email, what will be shown in the from when third parties receive it?
That's a very good question. The from part of the email will be the organization reaching out. So just like with you writing to the clients, you will have email configured inside of Zendesk that we will be the recipient, or sorry, the sending out email received by the other end. That is, of course, edge cases where that could leave problems, but I have only seen a very, very few of those over the time, right? So just briefly coming over the flow that we've just went through is that we have taken in the customer requests about potentially a package delivery. We have taken in third-party reach out, and we have been engaging with the client by reaching out to a third party and then become ready to reply back to our client, the second stakeholder in this case here. What we see is good cases around working with Copilot and AI is, to begin with, some easy cases like package delivery statuses, password reset requests, invoice requests, rebooking of appointments, simple FAQ questions, or just subscription status, etc. What you should tend to avoid, at least to begin with, is high complexity cases where you involve high complexity legal questions. Other AI is better. Other AI platforms is better for that. Or low volume cases where we would not have benefit for the investment really that we put into on time. The time and value is better spent on cases where we hit more customers with better quality. So this here, what we have is that is why we have what we call here the AI learning loop. This defines is that just like we had before, we have these 3 to 5 cases we start out with implementing. We deploy them, we monitor how they're doing, we're gathering feedback from our clients and from our colleagues about how it works. We refine it and we expand on more cases. Then we basically repeat the process all over again and see this as a continuous development process. The AI prompting will not be perfect, and it is not better than the input it gets from humans. Therefore, we need this development and learning loop for the AI.
And Hans, I agree with you. What I love about this is organizations can start small. You mentioned earlier, you don't need to go with the big bang, but you train the AI to adapt to your organization, your tone of voice, and your data. So it really uses real cases that's relevant to be used. So it's almost like personalization at scale, but just for support. Let's look at some stories where organizations have applied AI in their customer support to get some inspiration. So Hans, we spoke about one of your clients, Scanlines. So they have that common problem where it is an influx of tickets, but it's the same type of tickets. It's this repetitive task where they get constant requests to rebook the ferry tickets. Perhaps share with us how they have solved that challenge to reduce that repetitive cycle and enhance employee satisfaction as well.
Yes, absolutely. I will do that. What we did for Scanlines, a ferry company in Scandinavia, was that they had a lot of requests of people wanted to rebook their ferry tickets. Some was prone to and some was not prone to. What we really wanted to do is increase the speed that they were able to handle these cases. The task was to use AI to reply to all the tickets, guiding people in the right direction to make sure we ask the right points from the clients so we can help them and process them going forward. So to do that, I will go ahead and show you a live demo of my environment here. So what we have here is a case where a client is writing into the company to say, look, I would like to rebook my ticket. The agent, as you can see in the bottom here, is not presented with the usual text field where they can write a message, but they are presented with a predefined response that they can approve and send out to the customer. As we can see up here, what we have is we have the AI written response going back to the customer, and then the customer coming back to us because the AI has asked for, look, I need to know your ticket type. I need to know the booking number of your ticket that you would like to rebook for me to help you properly. The client has then come back to us with a, look, my ticket here, that's a flex ticket, and my booking number is this one here. And what we are capable of doing here with the AI is, first of all, that we can respond to the client with a proper flex ticket contextual response and how to handle rebooking. But the AI is also capable of picking out that we have a booking number in here, and that needs to go to our field over here, the booking number. We request that the bot would do the action of solving the ticket once we have responded this back. To make this clear, I'll show you here what we have the actual programming of the bot, or the prompting as we would call it. The prompting of the bot, just like you know it from ChatGPT, Gemini, and so on. Don't be scared away about all the different characters and all that in here. That is something that you will quickly get the hang of. What is important here is really that we have established a process around a two-step process. Step one, step two, and the bot is requested to first of all ask the client about, look, we would like the ticket type and we would like you to get us the ticket number with further additional context and information of how to, for example, gather the booking number from an email or wherever they could do that, link to an article and so on. The bot will automatically pick up upon that we have gathered that information before moving on to step two. We have then told it to pull out the booking number, put that into a field with a condition we can write to it. Look, if it's a low price ticket, if it's a standard ticket, if it's a 1-day ticket, or if it's a flex ticket, this is the guidance you need to give to the client. So if it's a 1-day ticket, it's not normally prone to rebooking. So there is a rebooking fee on that ticket, whereas a flex ticket would not have a rebooking fee, and they would have to call this number to do the actual rebooking. Therefore, by this scripting here, what we can do, and I'll just go ahead over here to pick up a case over here. So what we have, as you can see, following this case through, I would like to rebook my ticket for another time. The bot has helped the agent to establish the response, and the agent has just clicked approve. The client comes back with a flex ticket type and a booking number, which gives us the opportunity to solve it and have the booking number pulled from what is written here. And let's go ahead and try to approve that. So what happens here is that the field will be filled in with information from the response from the client, and the ticket has been marked as solved. With a push of one button, the AI has helped us make a response, establish the status of the ticket, and pull also information from the response from the client and put that into our metadata fields for KPIs and other metrics.
So Hans, if I summarize, the value that AI brought was to reduce repetitive work, create a predictable pattern and a clear decision-making tree, and it become more system-driven with straightforward verifications. And at the end, for them, introducing AI was really at a very low risk as well.
Absolutely. And what we can make sure of is that the company tone of voice is kept within our way of working. Maybe a very important point that I should bring up here is that Zendesk does not learn from your former tickets. And the reason for that is, first of all, there's a risk of the bot becoming an echo chamber. The bot will end up using its own responses to generate new responses, which will potentially leave you in a stuck loop of your tone of voice, which you will really like to avoid. And also that the way that you are writing the responses in here, you would like to keep your tone of voice. And you can only do that if you establish the tone of voice by yourself. Imagine you would like to change the tone of voice of the company, then you would be stuck for all the history that you have behind you of how you're talking to the clients. Going forward, you need to have it all established into the environment.
Absolutely. There's another interesting case, Hans, that I want us to just quickly run through, and that's around travel perks. They use AI in a more advanced way in their process. So if you can maybe just quickly run us through that one as well to see the journeys where you are now and where you can go to.
Yes, absolutely. So Travelpark is basically a trip booking site for companies, just like hotels.com, booking.com, but where you can do flight bookings, train bookings, and hotel bookings. The case I would like to show here is a full autonomous process, and I would like to do that in a live environment. So what we have here is the help center of Travelpark. If I click on the chat here, I'll just need to go up to my cases. What we have here, and I will explain a bit about how the technicality works in this afterwards. The thing is, whenever I go in and book a trip, some people or some agents behind the scene go ahead and book a trip on my behalf. They will book the train ticket, the plane ticket, the hotel, etc. I would like to be reassured that my tickets are actually confirmed, and I could do that with the live chatbot we have here by going into the help center, by going in and asking, look, is my trip confirmed? And the bot goes down into the backend system. It is connected to the Travelperk's actual booking system, and there's no agents involved in this process. And it picks up what it thinks is the most relevant case for me to potentially be asking about. It asks me, look, is it this one you mean? And just for the case of demos, I have solved it. No, that's not the one. And what it will then do, it will pull up a list of all the bookings that I have and present me with the potential options that I have to pick from. And once I pick one of them, it can tell me, yes, your trip is confirmed and all the revert detail is here. Is there anything else I can help you with? And what that leaves me with is that I'm fully confident around that. And right away, even the middle of the night, that and where there's no agents available, the bot can actually tell me the status of my ticket. My flight leaves in the morning. Is it actually confirmed? Yes, it is. And this has been done without a single agent involved in this process because Zendesk's bot knows me because I'm logged in and because has learned to be connected to the booking system in the backend. Same thing could go for orderings on the web shop or maybe even package delivery details and so on. If we can expose information to the bot, we can also teach it how to work with the data and present it to the client in a proper way.
Thank you for sharing that, Hans. If we pause here for a moment, there's quite a lot that we have covered so far. The key takeaway for everyone should really be that to unlock the real power of AI, you can only do that when you bring your people, your processes, and the platforms together. This is really when support starts turning into a customer experience. So, Hans, what advice or guidance do you have to get started with Zendesk and AI?
Yes, we need to establish the foundation to make sure we have a sufficient setup to adapt AI. We need a flow and a knowledge base in place so that the AI can work along with our agents in those processes in this flow and has the proper amount of knowledge to actually be able to help out both agents but also customers. We need to make sure that the implementation is of a size that is realistic to go live with on a very quickly basis, because otherwise we are risking not having success, not even launching to begin with, because we constantly seek for if we are missing something. And then we need to look into how we are scaling the setup. And we can do that by, again, making sure that our foundation works the proper way. Scaling into full autonomy is something that we recommend only do once you get comfortable with the cases, the procedures, as I showed before, that they are actually working and are acting as intended, co-working with the agents. So only first in the point where you feel and your agents feel comfortable, yes, this is actually supporting the clients, then we could feel comfortable letting the bot handle clients by itself.
That is great advice. So whether you are just starting out or want to scale your AI efforts, the key is to take it on a phased approach. Start with quick wins, and then you'll be able to transform and scale from there. Okay. So the last poll for today, when are you planning to implement your AI in your customer service processes? Let's see, this is quite interesting because I think everyone wants to get onto this quite soon. It looks like the majority is they want to start within the next 3 months. And I agree, this is a great window. If you don't start now, you will constantly be at the back of it and need to play constant catch up. It's here and it's real. So the quicker you adopt to it and start thinking around how do you embed that into your processes, the quicker you can grow and scale together with that as well. Okay, so let's perhaps open it for some questions. Hans, I've got a question here. How do you get your team onboarded when agents are worried that AI will replace them? Oh, that's a good one.
Overall, our philosophy is not that we want to replace any agent. I think that's fairly clear. But what my experience is that taking the team members into the working room, into the shop, basically, of working with the AI, that is where they start to get comfortable that this will be a tool that will support them and not something that will replace them. And my experience is that that is really working, taking people along in the process and not just driving them over with, here's the new replacement of you. Involvement of the team is key to a success with AI.
Exactly. And I absolutely agree with that, Hans. This is to support the agents. It's to free up their time so that they can actually work or focus on things that's most important. And that is to provide customer service. We are still, we've got this need where we want to still talk to people. That won't go away. This is really to create focus, free up time, and take that boring repeat tasks away to create satisfaction in their day-to-days as well. Hans, another question here is, how difficult is it to integrate AI with your existing CRM and tech stack? So not necessarily talking just Zendesk, but in general the CRM.
The answer is twofold because it comes down to complexity and availability. The complexity is actually not on the AI and the Zendesk side. That's a fairly straightforward process where we are connecting. If any of you guys have worked with something like Sabia or Tray or something like that, those kind of tools is very similar to how to work with integrating your CRM or ERP system into Zendesk. The hard part often is to have the ERP or CRM system to actually expose the data to our systems that we can actually integrate with them. But even that usually tends to be a task that we can come around in an easy manner.
Okay. Then just one last question. So what kind of ROI should we expect and how do we justify the investment to leadership?
For the recent case, what I did with a client was basically sit down, take the low tier of what we know on average savings of time. Let's say the 45 second, as I mentioned earlier, as a low tier of that. Then look at the amount of tickets we actually have. And that will give you the amount of hours that we would be able to save. Estimately, you could take that up into the average cost on the hour in your service center. And that would be the way that I would go about figuring out how to establish an ROI and how to argue from a financial perspective to management of investing into AI like this.
We are just about out of time. Let's cover how that Vimel can support organizations on this journey. So if you are thinking this all makes sense, but I need help, that is exactly the support we provide to our clients. We do the audits of the current Zendesk setup, build that foundation, and implement the AI strategies. So the AI strategies is not only on Zendesk, that is in your general CRM platforms, your support platforms, and then train your team on how to embrace AI, how to get the best out of this. So you can reach out to Hans directly. His email is on the screen, or you can contact me and I will make sure that you get in touch with the right person. Hans, any final thoughts before we wrap up?
Yeah, so of course we would like to help out figuring out if you guys are ready for adapting into AI. And therefore we would also like to offer you a free checkup of the potential gaps in the setup you have today. So we will be more than happy that you reach out to us and we will help you out figuring out what gaps you have with your platform today and how ready you are to getting onto AI.
If you guys want any support in understanding what are the gaps or what is it that your specific journey looks like, please feel free to reach out. A few final reminders. You will receive a copy of this recording within 24 hours. We'll also be sending out the foundation audit checklist. I'm sure that will be really helpful, especially considering that a lot of you mentioned in the first poll that you're starting this journey. And then, of course, if you've got any follow-up questions, please feel free to reach out to either myself or Hans. Thank you again for your time and good luck with your Zendesk and AI journey.